Today with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, you got HP running around the world amplifying their nonsense, and I believe that there should be a counterpoint to the amplified nonsense coming from HP. Welcome to the end of the day with Ray. Folks, we got some insider trading going on at HP. HP also commissioned a survey. I'm looking at the survey thinking to myself, holy crap, HP. I don't know how much you spent for this survey, but you could have just called me, and I would have given you some great answers and probably only charged you a cold beer. I mean, at the end of the day, folks, I really believe that HP leadership is really living in delusion. And I've talked about many reasons why I believe that. But now I also believe that a lot of the senior leaders at HP believe the company is in delusion because they're selling off their shares. There's some pretty heavy insider trading going on. So let's talk about the heavy insider trading, and then I'll jump into that survey. And I'll close with some thoughts for HP that have to do with an alligator. So you ready? Let's get started. So if you look on the gigantic Sharp interactive board, you'll see this chart over here with these red lines on it. And ladies and gentlemen, those red lines are all the insider trades, all the selling going on. You will see a couple of insiders buying. Of course, that was at the time when the stock was going to 40 bucks a share and the arrogance over at HP just exploded, right? We're the greatest company in the world. We're going to provide the hybrid worker everything they need, and we are going to be fantastic for 100 years to come. And then, guess what? People woke up, and the stock went back to normal price. Ladies and gentlemen, the two big trades. We had the director, Robert Bennett, sold 67,000 shares for an average price of $30 a share, $2 million worth. David McQuarrie, and Dave is the chief commercial officer. He sold $1 million worth at an average price of $30, and that was 90% of David's stake. And, and Dave, by the way, the chief commercial officer, he was one of the speakers at the Vegas Amplify event. And I'm thinking, was he on stage giving his presentation at the same time thinking, I'm so glad I sold my shares? Maybe he saw the other presentations and realized that we are not undervalued by any stretch of the imagination. I'm so glad I sold my shares. When the last chief commercial officer sold their shares, I did an episode I showed you. Remember, I circled it on the gigantic Sharp interactive board, and I made a prediction that the chief commercial officer would be leaving the company. It won't be long. And of course, he did leave. He left about 2 months, 3 months later. He went over to Intel. So I'm going to have to predict here today that the chief commercial officer is definitely getting ready to head out the door at HP. Just my thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going through Yahoo Finance, and there's a risk chart. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, wow, HP is getting a lot of failing grades. So I'm going to read you these things and then the answers and why they got an F. You ready? Here we go. Do they have negative shareholders' equity? Well, over at HP, they definitely have negative shareholders' equity. They get an F on that. Let me put an F there. Our revenue and earnings forecast to grow. Earnings are forecast to decline by an average of 5.9% per year for the next 3 years. So the earnings are going to decline. They fail there. Almost 6% for the next 3 years, each year in a row. And ladies and gentlemen, we saw the decline in revenue. When they ended their last FY, the decline in revenue was nearly $10 billion. So they definitely, I got to make a little bit bigger F for that one. They definitely get an F in that category. Are they in good financial position? Has a high level of debt. They fail that one. You know why they got a high level of debt? Because the CEO believed that the stock was undervalued and they spent billions and billions of dollars buying back their own shares. Has there been substantial insider selling in the past 3 months? Well, there's been significant insider selling in the last 3 months, so they fail that category as well. Is their dividend sustainable? Unsustainable dividend track record. They fail that category as well. So I guess it's safe to say that in all these categories, our friends over at HP get a big, giant F. Ladies and gentlemen, it won't be about AI going in the HP computer that's going to clean this up. AI going into the computer, whether it's HP computer, a Dell computer, any computer in the world, is a permission to show up. It'll be a commodity. HP will not grow their business because they put AI in their computers. And until HP can understand the reality of the company, and that reality is that the supplies that go in their printers are continuing to decline, And they better get a handle on that. Otherwise, they're going to continue to get Fs. And when I say get a handle on it, you can't make people print more. You can't push out firmware and force people to use your supplies and be outrageous. You can't come up with contracts that are so terrible to resellers that you're considered one of the most just overreaching OEMs on the planet. You have to start figuring out what is HP going to be in the future. You had a great opportunity. You could have got together with Xerox, and you could have had a footprint at street level to deliver compute products, to deliver PCs with AI in them, to provide services to end users. You could have done it, but you didn't. You believed you were going to dominate this hybrid worker environment. There's no such thing as a hybrid worker. It's called a worker that has processes that allow them to be remote. That's what it's called. Ladies and gentlemen, when HP stock hit that 40 bucks, that's where their arrogance went through the roof. It's sitting on about 30 bucks a share today. It's not going back to 40 bucks. And the CEO of HP can run around and talk about AI going into computers all he wants. But they better figure out how they're going to compensate for the loss in profitability in that company when they lose that print supply business. Here's that survey. Let's just go through this really quick. Only 27% of knowledge workers say they have a healthy relationship with work. HP, here's what I would have told you. I'm thinking only 20% of resellers have a healthy relationship with HP. 20% of the resellers have a healthy relationship. The other 80% wish they didn't even have to deal with HP. They're not real excited about the Amplify agreement. Oh, yes, they'll go to your meetings and eat your wine and drink your drinks and have some fun, right? They're going to do that with you. But that doesn't mean that they have a healthy relationship with you. That just means you're trying to buy friends, right? Just 25% of knowledge workers feel confident that their company will implement the right tools to support a hybrid work. The hybrid work. Can you imagine? You get a phone call. Do you think your worker, your employer is going to give you the right tools for hybrid work? And the person's thinking of hybrid work. What do you mean? You mean remote work? It's about remote work. It's about processes to allow people to work remote. And the biggest thing you got to get rid of in those processes is printing and scanning. Because those are things that are pretty hard to do remote. But if you got rid of them, and those employees had processes that they could navigate information behind glass, wouldn't that be amazing? And guess what? Most of those processes exist today. And the need for business print will continue to decline. I'm thinking only 2% of knowledge workers believe HP will in any way dominate providing the right tools. Ladies and gentlemen, it talks about, let me just read this to you. Today's employees crave agency when it comes to the tools they use to get work done, demanding a say in shaping their tech ecosystems. Employees, they want to be part of the decision. They want some agency in this. You know what, HP? Here's what I think. HP, your resellers have been screaming for more agency. It seems your arrogance amplifies your answer. Your resellers don't want to be handing over all this data to you. And I still would love to know the reseller that made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in profit based on you having all their data. I would really love to know that. Employees want to work with leaders grounded in realities. That's what the survey should have asked. Because that's what employees are thinking. Is my leader grounded in reality? They could be visionary, but are they grounded in reality? Or are they grounded in a fantasy and creating visions from being grounded in fantasy? That's a terrible, terrible thing. HP, remember, your resellers are not your employees. And HP needs to figure out how they're going to do better stewardship with their resellers. And how those resellers will go out in the market and be passionate for HP. Because, like I said, I really only believe about 20% of them are. Ladies and gentlemen, let's end with the alligator I discussed. Eating the hand that feeds you. Over here, you'll see a picture of a lady feeding an alligator. This is an actual real picture. I'm thinking to myself, who in the hell is this person? How stupid is this? Over here is a picture of the Amplify program, their logo. Dealers feeding HP data for discounts. Dealers feeding HP data, in my mind, is as stupid as this lady feeding that alligator. And at the end of the day, that's where the lady ends up. And at the end of the day, one day, HP will say, thanks for giving us your data. Now we can feed your customers without you. Just some things to think about, my friends, because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.